Chapter 10. Shattered Helm. From afar, Shattered Helm was shrouded in a dense, unnatural mist, like a curtain drawn tightly over the entire city. As the adventurers approached, a strange sensation washed over them, a magical chill that settled deep in their bones, not of temperature, but of presence. It was like stepping through an unseen veil. A tingle ran along their skin, and the world seemed to shift, quieter, dimmer, distant from reality. "Something's not right here," Zora murmured. "No," Zal agreed, tightening the grip on his shield. "It's not." The mist parted just enough for vague outlines to emerge, crumbling walls, leaning towers, and abandoned homes. The streets were wide and barren, lined with stones dulled by age and moss. The group moved slowly, boots echoing with faint, muffled thuds. In the silence, a subtle clop, clop, clop echoed distantly. Faint hoofbeats somewhere ahead or behind. A shadow darted across a nearby alley. A cat, lean and dark, disappeared around a corner just as a raven burst from a low rooftop, startled, cawing as it flapped to perch above them. It cocked its head, one eye trained on the group with unsettling intelligence. "Did that thing just watch us?" Levi asked. "Feels like everything's watching us," Alaric muttered. The clopping grew louder. Ast signaled for the others to stop. He crouched low, studying the rhythm. "Something's coming, heavy." The fog thickened again, until two glowing green pinpricks appeared ahead, suspended in the air. A low huff echoed from the same direction. The green lights dipped slightly, then exhaled. Rivulets of sickly green gas spiraled into the mist. Then came the sound, a deep, echoing moo, not from any normal bull, but something deeper, metallic. From the fog, it burst, a chrome-plated gorgon, snorting green vapor as it barreled forward like a war engine. Its hooves thundered like drums as it plowed through the street, forcing the group to dive left and right to avoid being flattened. "Ost!" Zal shouted, but the ranger was already on the move. Ost sprinted directly into the center of the street and stopped. Standing tall, he locked eyes with the creature, if it even had eyes, then taunted it with a sharp whistle. The gorgon locked on, and with a furious snort, lowered its horns and charged. Ost waited until the very last moment. Then, in one fluid motion, he somersaulted over the beast, grabbed its horns midair, and twisted hard. The torque sent the gorgon staggering to the side, where it skidded across the stone, sparking against the street. "Now!" Ost shouted as he landed. Zal, Zora, Jason, and Levi surged in. Blades clanged and spells exploded against the metal hide, every impact leaving thin cracks in the iron plates. Green gas began to hiss from the gaps, foul, unnatural, and thick. Alaric launched arcane flames from his enchanted blade, and even Bob, lurking on a nearby rooftop, hurled a dagger that struck a joint between armor plates. With every strike, the gorgon grew more erratic, more furious. Then it reared back, and with a bellowing snort, unleashed a massive cloud of green gas from its maw. The group scattered in panic, but Zal was caught full in the plume. He froze mid-step, gasping as stone began to crawl up his limbs. Zora cried out, reaching toward him, but Zal growled low and deep, his orcish blood surging. Muscles rippled, and with a shuddering breath, the petrification halted. The stone cracked and flaked off. "Nice try," Zal spat. Suddenly, twin bolts of violet arcane energy lanced through the fog, striking the gorgon's hindquarters. The beast turned, distracted, giving Zal the moment he needed. He lunged forward and drove his moonlit blade into a crack in the creature's flank. With a howl of twisting metal and a hiss of escaping gas, the Gorgon stumbled, staggered, then collapsed onto its side. The green mist oozed from its mouth and joints as it lay still, steaming and lifeless. The group stood, panting, blades lowered, but wary. "Don't get too close," Levi warned, eyeing the seeping gas. "That stuff might still be active." Alaric tilted his head at the wreck. "That's a hell of a welcome, Matt." Zora furrowed her brow. "Who left this thing to guard the ruins?" The raven above gave a single, sharp caw. "Anyone speak Raven?" Bob asked aloud. Continuing toward the looming castle at the city's heart, the adventurers searched for any sign of life and found none. They wandered through homes and shops, peering into windows and pushing open unlocked doors. All of the buildings were strangely intact. Food sat spoiled on tables. Clothing lay folded in drawers. Tools and half-finished projects were left mid-task, as though their owners had simply vanished. No signs of struggle, no blood, no bodies, just absence. Several times, Zal paused and scanned the alleys. "I could have sworn I saw someone just now," he muttered once, narrowing his eyes at a flicker of movement. Zora noted something similar, shadows just at the edge of vision. Yet nothing solid ever revealed itself. As they pressed on, Jason held up a hand. "There," he said, pointing through a thinning veil of fog. A massive silhouette loomed ahead, tall spires, towering walls, a castle. "Perhaps we should check there?" he offered as the others gathered. The castle gates were already open. The interior was just as lifeless as the streets. Tapestries hung, undisturbed by wind or hand. Suits of armor stood vigil in silent halls. And everywhere they looked, signs of lives once lived. Plates set for meals, books lying open, ink still dried mid-letter. Ost found a chair overturned beside a fire, with no clue as to why. "It's like they vanished in the middle of everything," Alaric said softly. "This wasn't abandonment. It was interruption." As they climbed deeper into the castle, Ost froze. "The cat's back." "Where?" Zal asked. "Back there," Ost nodded toward the entry corridor. Sure enough, the black cat from before sat near a staircase landing, watching them with unblinking eyes. When Zora stepped toward it, the cat darted back into the fog. "Creepy thing," Bob muttered. "Let it be." Their search brought them to a long, ornate hallway, pillars carved with flowing script, and depictions of heroes and kings lined the walls. Statues stood in even intervals, all facing the hallway's center. The silence was palpable. One chamber off the hall revealed what looked like a vault or armory. It was partially looted, but not completely. They found some useful gear, potions, scrolls, and a few odd magical trinkets, most notably a magical satchel that swallowed anything placed into it and recalled the contents upon command. "A bag of holding," Levi announced, eyes glittering. "Dibs," he added, with all the enthusiasm of a man ordering soup. Ost tossed it his way, with a quiet shake of his head. With their loot secured, they regrouped and eyed the final door at the end of the hallway, the only one left unexplored. At the end of the hallway, the adventurers stepped into a lavish, circular chamber. The walls curved around them like the inside of a dome, adorned with faded murals, stone statues, and tattered banners that hinted at long-forgotten grandeur. Dust hung thick in the air, disturbed only by their footsteps and breath. At the far end stood a massive mirror, towering 40 feet tall and just as wide, framed in an ornate lattice of carved obsidian vines and thorns. The glass itself was immaculate, save for one glaring imperfection, a jagged void in the dead center of the surface, roughly at eye level. The missing shard formed a sharp-edged hole, as if something had been torn violently away. Strangely, none of the reflective fragments seemed scattered around. Levi stepped closer, drawn to the unsettling emptiness in the otherwise pristine glass. As he approached, his eyes caught a faint glimmer near the mirror's base. Kneeling, he brushed aside a layer of dust and debris to reveal a single shard of mirrored glass, smooth on one side, jagged and splintered on the other. "Found something," he said, holding it up. The shard was roughly the size of a palm, and the moment it caught the mirror's surface, a soft silver glow rippled across both the glass and the fragment. It resonated with a low hum, like a distant chime. Zora stepped beside him. "It's a match," she said, eyeing the broken edge. "But it's only one." Ost nodded. "That missing section is much larger. This is just one piece of it. There have to be more." Levi turned the shard over in his hand, watching the light pulse dimly with his movements. "Then they're out here, somewhere." "Any idea what happens when we put them all together?" Alaric asked. Levi smirked faintly. "Not a clue, which means we absolutely have to find out." Zal crossed his arms and stared at their fractured reflections. The void in the mirror's center seemed to swallow their images whole, offering no reflection at all, just darkness. "Careful," Zora warned quietly. "This magic is ancient, powerful, and uncertain." Without warning, massive stone statues groaned to life from the niches along the chamber walls, their joints ground with ancient force as they lurched forward, stone blades and fists raised to strike. The adventurers sprang into action, steel clashing against stone and spells erupting in brilliant bursts of magic. Amidst the chaos, Ost and Bob both struck too close to the mirror, only to suddenly vanish. Instead of crashing against the glass, their bodies shimmered and phased through it as if passing through water. A rush of air followed their disappearance, tinged with the sharp, electric scent of ozone. The group redoubled their efforts. Levi conjured sharp sheets of magical frost, coating one of the advancing statues in a layer of ice. With a grunt, Zal brought his sword down in a wide arc, cracking the frozen surface. And Zora followed through with a powerful swing of her warhammer, shattering the golem into stone dust. "Freeze and smash!" Levi shouted. "It works!" Together, the team battered the remaining statues down, breaking them into scattered heaps of rubble across the marble floor. The room fell silent, save for the hum of the giant mirror at its center. The fractured void in the glass still glowed faintly, beckoning. Zal approached and looked into the center. "What happened to them?" he asked. "Teleported, if I had to guess," Levi said, stepping beside him. "How sure are you?" Alaric asked warily, peering at the mirror's swirling shimmer. "Kinda sure," Levi replied with a shrug. Alaric nodded once. "Good enough for me." Without hesitation, he leapt forward and vanished through the mirror, his outline distorting as he phased into the light. Zal blinked. "He really just—" "Yep," Levi said. The group stared at the mirror. "One way to find out," Zora said quietly, stepping forward. Zal and Levi followed close behind. The adventurers emerged on the other side of the mirror, stepping into a grand yet ominous throne room filled with stern-looking city guards, flanking a regal figure seated upon a heavy stone throne. The air felt thick and oppressive, tinged with desperation. The king, wearing a crown, weighed by both gold and grief, regarded them with suspicion and exhaustion. "Did you come to my cursed land in the hopes of pilfering my treasury?" he accused sharply, eyes narrowing as he observed the items taken from the vault. "Your Majesty," Levi began cautiously, "we had no intent." The king raised a weary hand, silencing him. "You have the look of a capable lot, and our need is dire. If treasure is your goal, aid us, and your reward shall exceed your dreams. Refuse me, and you will rot away like the rest of us." He rose from the throne, his expression darkening with bitter recollection. "A month ago, though time here is uncertain, a mysterious mist enveloped our city, mirrored by a similar occurrence on your side. The mirror began forcibly drawing people here, and the stone shepherds rounded up any who remained, pushing them through to this accursed place." His voice grew low and haunted. "There is neither day nor night, only perpetual haze and a rocky cliff encircling us. Those who tried climbing were violently cast down, their lifeless bodies bearing deep claw marks." A grim quiet filled the hall before the king continued. "The mist itself is a disease. Slowly, it strips sanity away, leaving nothing but a ravenous hunger for living flesh. We've barricaded ourselves within this castle, trapped as former friends and family roam the streets transformed. Mordecai," he spat the name venomously, "my former aide, became instantly obsessed with that cursed mirror. It was he who shattered it and quickly fled. Find him, force him to lift this curse. He resides in a watchtower built on the cliffs up the northern coast." "You've given this task before," Ost noted. The king nodded. "Your Majesty," Zal spoke up thoughtfully, "how can we deal with Mordecai if we can't escape? The mist and cliffs seem impenetrable." The king sighed deeply, eyes distant with worry. "A rumored passage exists, a narrow gap in the cliffs at the far end of the town. None who ventured there have returned, their silence broken only by distant echoing screams of agony. It's our only chance, perilous though it may be." "Are you not coming with us?" Ost offered. "And leave my people?" "Number my place is here," the king stated. Resolute in their purpose, the adventurers gave a solemn nod to the king's request and turned to leave the castle's grand hall. Stepping once more into the cold stillness of shattered Helm, they found the streets just as abandoned as before, the mist clinging low and heavy around their feet like a living thing reluctant to let them go. They moved in silence, the clink of armor and the soft crunch of debris beneath their boots the only sounds. As they passed the empty buildings, ghostly echoes of lives once lived, towering spires emerged ahead, jutting up from the ground like the twisted ribs of some long-dead giant. They were black stone, sharp and unnatural, clawing toward the sky. "That must be the place," Ost muttered. As they neared the spires, movement caught their eyes. Figures. At first, the adventurers hesitated, unsure if these were survivors or another illusion brought on by this cursed place. But as the figures stepped into view, their sunken eyes, pale rotted flesh, and twisted grins told the truth. They were townsfolk, or what remained of them. Hollowed, broken things with remnants of humanity smeared across their faces like paint on old parchment. They crouched at the base of the cliffs, picking through viscera and gnawed bone, feasting like animals on the remains of those who had tried and failed to scale the cliffs. When they saw the group, a moment of eerie silence passed. Then one pointed and shrieked. The others joined, mouths too wide, and with a chorus of hissing howls, they surged forward in a manic wave. Alaric stepped to the front, eyes narrowing. Enough. He drew a deep breath and flicked his flute to his lips, conjuring a swirl of multicolored magic with a few rapid notes. A hypnotic pattern of twisting light erupted in the air between the adventurers and the charging mob. The effect was instant. The maddened townsfolk skidded to a halt, their vacant eyes wide and glassy as the colors swirled. Drool slipped from their mouths, and slack-jawed, they stood entranced. "Let's not kill them if we don't have to," Zora said quietly. "Agreed," Zal nodded. "Let's move." The group edged past the enthralled horde, stepping lightly, careful not to break the spell or draw attention. Once beyond the reach of the hypnotic pattern, they slipped into the shadowy passage through the cliff walls. The air here grew tighter, compressed between walls of jagged stone that rose steeply on either side. It twisted and wound like a serpent, occasionally breaking into small alcoves filled with fungus or the charred remnants of failed torches. After several tense minutes of winding ascent, the passage suddenly opened. There, atop a natural stone platform, as if the earth itself had shaped it for this very purpose, sat a creature of grace and menace. A sphinx, its lion's body stretched lazily across the rock, wings folded elegantly behind its back, and its humanoid face marked by ancient wisdom and quiet power. Jewels shimmered faintly beneath the fur of its mane, and its golden eyes gleamed with ageless curiosity. "Well now," it purred, voice smooth as silk over a blade. "You've come far, but your path stopped here, unless you prove wiser than those that came before. Answer my riddles correctly, and you may pass. Fail, and remain here forever," the creature declared, voice echoing powerfully. It posed the first riddle. "I have a beak at front and strike without peck. I have feather on end, but fly without wings. Alone or in a group, I kill strong men. What am I?" "An arrow," Ost swiftly responded. The Sphinx nodded approvingly and continued. "The bigger I get, the less there is. What am I?" "A hole," Jason answered without hesitation. Again, the Sphinx seemed pleased. "I have no arms or legs, but I eat with a fork every day. What am I?" "A snake," Levi offered confidently. The riddles continued. "Thousands place gold within this house, but no man made it. Spears past counting guard this place, but no man wards it. What is it?" "A beehive," Zora replied calmly. The Sphinx blinked slowly, its golden eyes gleaming with curiosity as it posed its challenge in a voice like velvet drawn over stone. "A wife is as old as the husband will be when the wife is twice the age that the husband was when the wife's age was half the sum of their present ages. If the husband is 30, how old is the wife?" The group froze. An awkward silence followed as each member turned to the other, searching for confirmation that someone, anyone, had a clue. "Could you repeat that?" Alaric asked hesitantly, brow furrowed. The Sphinx did not blink. It did not speak again. It simply stared, unblinking, unmoving, its expression calm and unreadable. "I think that's a no," Levi muttered. A cluster formed, weapons half drawn, but attention fully fixed on the riddle now. Bob quietly stepped away from the group, leaning against a nearby stone outcrop with arms crossed. "Nope," he said flatly. "I don't do math riddles. I'll take my chances with a sword fight. Thanks." Levi, Ost, and Alaric formed the debating core. "Well, if the husband is 30 now," Levi began, tapping his temple, "then we start there. But it's about when she is twice the age he was, when she was, oh gods, I've lost it already, Alaric groaned, pacing. Ost rubbed his temples. Why would someone be married at 5 years old? He snapped suddenly at Alaric. Where did you grow up? I'm just plugging in numbers, man. Try 17 and a half and work back from there. Alaric shot back defensively. Zora stood silent, arms folded, watching the back and forth with a neutral expression. Jason frowned, quietly mouthing the problem to himself with a look of abject betrayal at mathematics. Minutes passed. Debate turned to squabbling, and then gradually, grudging consensus. Zal, who had remained silent throughout, stepped forward slowly, sword still in hand, though lowered. The others drew close behind him, forming a half-circle of braced tension, weapons raised in case the answer displeased their guardian host. Zal exhaled. His voice was calm, but there was the barest edge of hesitation, like a man trying to guess the weight of a sword before drawing it. 40, he said at last. He didn't blink. He didn't move. His eyes remained locked on the sphinxes, waiting for a shift in breath, a flicker of aggression, any indication of whether they had passed or failed. Satisfied, the sphinx stepped aside, revealing a glowing portal, shimmering faintly in the gloom. Without hesitation, they stepped through, leaving behind the twisted reflection of shattered Helm. Relief flooded them as they emerged beneath familiar skies, outside the city they knew, yet forever altered by their harrowing journey.